Hello, fellow gardeners. Well, we're continuing showing you how we build these containers to grow our food in, so we don't have to grow in the ground where it's either rocky or the weeds are taking you, soil's too heavy, too tight, stands in water. Lots of reasons you can't grow in the ground. This makes your life so much simpler. We're busy working. We don't have time to go out there and garden like our grandparents did back there when that's what they did for a living, was to garden and farm and all. Now we're busy with 2 jobs apiece or whatever, and so we don't have time. This is what I'm trying to do, is simplify your life, and you still grow some homegrown food because it's getting scarce. May get scarcer in the next year or two, so it wouldn't hurt for you to learn how to garden like this and teach your children how to do it, and so they can go ahead and do it after we pass on. Sooner or later, some of us are going to pass on, you know that. Once we put on this earth, we're headed towards death. So I don't know how long the good Lord let me hang around. I thank you for the 81 years He's let me be here, but hope He gives me another 25 or 30 years, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm ready to go if it happens tonight, but I'd like to stay around for a few more years. Okay, I'm going to show you some other ways that we do these buckets. I know when we started out, we were laying pipe crossways. We went from a 4-inch to a 6-inch, and then we found out you couldn't find 6-inch everywhere in the United States, so we went back teaching you about the 4-inch. You can find this at any chain store like Lowe's, Home Depot, Atwoods, Tractor Supply, things like that. Some places you have to buy it in 100 or 150 foot roll. Some places sell it to you in a 10-foot lengths. This is just another way we do that pipe. We were stacking 3 of them like across there, covering them over with a piece of cloth to get these ends of these pipes covered. I told you could take a little piece of cloth, you know, like cut off a piece of that and just put it around that right there and tape it on each end. But where we were building several hundred of them a day, we didn't have time to do that. So what we did, we just laid it down and laid our ground cover over it just to keep the soil from going in these pipes. Now this is another way, the newest way we're doing it is running this piece of pipe around here. That's 5 feet and 6 inches, I believe it is, to make that loop. See, it's just one piece of pipe that we cut off a row, stuck it down in that bucket like that right there.
And what size pipe?
That's 4-inch French drain pipe. You don't have to use French drain, but if you do, it can have holes in it or not have holes in it. You can use the white 4-inch sewer pipe and lay about 4 of them or 5 crossways, lay 3 on the bottom and 2 on top. Kind of stack them up, you know, to get you a little height on it. Drill your hole over here anywhere from 3 to 6 inches, according to what size pipe you're using. If you're using 4-inch pipe, you want your hole at 3 inches because you want 3 inches of water and 1 inch of air in that pipe. Now this is the way we've done this newest one, and we just lay that in there like into that. Now, yes, if we put soil in, see, we've covered about 85% of our bottom with pipe where the soil can't touch the bottom. But when we put that soil in there, it's going to go in this hole, it's going to go in that hole and that hole. So what I did, I went back and just cut me a piece of that cloth about a 18 by 3 foot and just dropped it right down over the top of that like that. That's to keep that soil going into those pipes. I don't care if it doesn't touch right here, it's fine as long as I'm covering that pipe in 2 cracks where that soil, where that soil can go in there. Now I got to get my pipe. Let's see. Here's one right here I'll get. Don't forget to put your pipe in there. You can put it in that crack right there. Cover it over like that right there. You still got it going. Fill it full of potting mix, not heavy soil out of the ground. Get the loose mix in there about halfway up. Put all your fertilizers in that I tell you about, the Sustain, the Sea Mineral, the Epsom salt, the lime, and the gypsum. I can send you a paper if you want to give me your address. Text me the address to either one of our 2 numbers. We got 2 numbers on there. Text it. We'll text you back a picture of it, or we can mail you a paper of it, whatever. Any way to get you to gardening. And like I say, if you don't want to use our fertilizers to tweak this out, you can use fertilizer you buy at home. Fertilizer is fertilizer is fertilizer. You know, you can use 10-20-10 if you want to. It's a commercial fertilizer. It's just not organic. We're trying to go as organic as we can is what we're trying to do. Sustainable. We try to not use any pesticides. We do use some Dawn dishwashing soap to spray some of those bugs. We use some alcohol sometime, some hot pepper juice, orange oil, anything to kind of run them off. Okay, so we'll put our potting mix in here, push it down in here so it's going to be down in the soil, water to wick up, and then go ahead and fill it up here, put our soil or fertilizer in, finish it up with soil, and you're good to go. All right, and now you can do that with that old container there, that square container I talked to you about. Look at here. I have some women say, I don't want that old ugly thing sitting on my porch or on my patio. I understand that. So what I did, I went down to a chain store, believe it or not, because I know there's chain stores around every one of you. Usually think. I know some of you have to drive. I drilled me a hole right there, about 4 to 6 inches up, in a pretty container. They said, oh no, you're messing up my pretty container. No, it has no holes in it. Do not drill holes in the bottom of it, please. We want it to hold 4 to 6 inches of water. Take your container like this. There's the little 3-gallon you can sit in there. Put your soil all around it. Come on up here, put your fertilizer, put your more soil in, and get to gardening. I do a lot of this with flowers. This makes beautiful flowers. I don't use this. This cost, I think, $29.95 at Walmart last spring. That's where I bought these. Just to show you that you can use a little fancier pot. This is plastic. This looks a little prettier than these others do. Once I get mine full of flowers and hanging over the side, you can't see the side of my pot anyway. But that's still beside the point. You can use that little 3-gallon in there. I take this little 7-gallon. And this is the problem with this one. See, now I'm going to have to drill some holes in it to let the water go in and out. Now, that's setting too tall. I don't have any soil up here on top. See, I just have 1 inch of soil. So what I would do, I'd come in here and cut that one off if you use a 5-gallon bucket, right above that lip, and then set it in there, and then you'll be all right. This little 3-gallon does a good job. You can use your jugs. Let me go back. Sorry about being noisy, but you can put you some jugs in there and do the same thing. Get you some gallons, some half a gallons you can put in there around it. Use you some pop bottles. Anything to kind of fill up 80% of that bottom. I don't like that just yet. Let me use one of the smaller ones. Let me get another one out here. Just kind of figure out what you need in there to cover about 80 to 85% of that bottom. Now then put your soil in there, down in around those jugs, and you're good to go. Come up here, put your fertilizer in, put your soil in, put your flowers in, your vegetables in, 1 tomato, 2 peppers, about 6 or 7 lettuce, 6 or 7 spinach, and you're good to garden. Okay, I got one other bucket I want to show you now. We call this the trucker's bucket, and the reason we called it the trucker's bucket is because truck drivers, you know, bless their heart, they're the one that's bringing all our supplies and all to us. They're on the road all the time. They get to come home about once a month. So I had to fix one that would hold enough water to get them by for about a month. And that's the reason we call it the trucker bucket or the vacationer's bucket. All we did, we took this same, and you can do this with square containers. You can do it with round containers, either one. And I'll try to show you on that other one. Okay, this is a bucket that come off of a shrub that you buy out of your chain stores or out of your nursery. It already has holes in the bottom of it. It's black and tough. It'll last for years. You can use one of these. If you don't have one of these, if you get a 5-gallon bucket, we'll show you how to do it the same way. Now this is too short. See, it'll work. It's just, you can only have about 8 inches of water there. What I'm telling you to do not drill a hole in this tub, this container. Even if you use one of those square totes, do not drill a hole in it. We're going to hold this completely full of water. We're going to set this bucket, whether you use this black bucket or whether you use one of these that's cut off in there, see, because that's, there again, we're too tall. It's okay, you could, but see, and it'll work, it's okay. It's just when you use a, now you don't have to use a short one or a tall one. You can use two tall ones. Now, you do have to cut a hole in the bottom of the top container, a little smaller than what the hole is in the bucket you're using, because you want this to sit on top of it. I'm just trying to show you both ways and not say and to spend a lot of your time, but this is the way it goes, right like that. This top bucket has to have this hole cut out in the middle that'll sit right down on top of that bucket. I would like for you to take this bucket and cut it off right there above that bottom lip. Drill you 4 holes in it, set it in the middle, cut your bucket, put this out where to sit right down on top of that bucket. Fill this full of potting soil halfway. Excuse my jugs, I mean, we're trying to do 2 things at one time. We don't want any jugs in this one. This is strictly an altogether different way. Don't get them mixed up. You'll have to kind of watch them now. This is going to have a hole. Remember, this has a hole right down through the middle, right there. Now don't just cut a 6-inch hole. Cut it as big as your bucket, like in 1 inch. In other words, what you need to do is just turn this over. Whatever size bucket you're using, set it on there and draw around it. Now, kind of see what I drawed. That's the size of the bucket. I would come in here and I would cut that hole about that big around right there. You want about 1 inch lip to hold on that bucket. So cut that hole out right there. Don't cut it out here. Cut it right there. Now you can see all the way down in there, and this is the way it'll look, just like this right here. We cut a little hole over to the side here for our pipe, our fill pipe. So I'm going to use this one. I'm going to set my bucket back in there. There's no hole in my bottom bucket now, remember. No hole in this one. There is holes in this one that was put in there by the nursery. Okay, we're going to set that in there. Or you can use a 5-gallon bucket if you drill the holes in it, cut this off about here. It'll still work good. Set this over in there. Fill that full of potting soil down in there. Come on up in here about halfway. Put your fertilizers in. Fill it full of soil and go to gardening. Put your pipe in there first before you fill it with soil. Excuse me. I forgot. Right through that hole there. Fill this full of potting soil. Then you can fill this full of water. Now, a lot of people won't take the water hose and fill it up. You do not know how many gallons of water you have in the bottom of that. That's the reason I say take a funnel and put it in there. Take you a 5-gallon bucket and put you 5 teaspoons of fertilizer in it. Fill it full of water and pour it down that funnel until you got this thing completely full. That's the easiest way to measure it. If you put it full of water, through a water hose, you don't know how many gallons you put in there. You don't know how much fertilizer to put in. I guess you could guesstimate at it. I recommend you measure it a little more accurate than that. Anyway, if you use a 3-gallon, put you 3 teaspoons in there, 3 gallons of water, and pour it down through a funnel and fill it up until it's lipping full up here. You can walk off and leave this one now for 3 weeks to a month and come back and it's still gardening. So that's the reason we call it the trucker's bucket or the vacationer's bucket. Okay, I've told you about the many ways I know to do this. If you'll go down and subscribe, if you're new to this channel, if you'll ring our bell, give us a thumbs up on it, we'll be encouraged to come back and make you another video.